Imagine sitting in a cramped, smoke-filled booth. The only light comes from flickering monitors, while rain lashes against the windows of a city that feels like it gave up a long time ago. You're no longer a superhero. You're not holding a gun. All you have is a headset and the power of your voice. That premise alone was enough for Dispatch to win over a lot of fans last year. Hi, my name is Alex and I welcome you to today's video. I spent the past few days almost living inside the superhero emergency call center on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I can say this right away. Dispatch loses none of its shine on Nintendo's new hardware. At the center of Dispatch is Robert Robertson, known to everyone simply as Bob. He used to be a superhero himself, operating under the name Mecha Man, until a failed mission ended not only his career, but also his powers. Instead of actively protecting the city, Bob now sits at the headquarters of the so-called Superhero Dispatch Network, or SDN for short. His new job is to coordinate the remaining heroes, evaluate incoming emergencies and make the hard calls when situations spiral out of control. The story is told episodically and relies heavily on dialogue, radio chatter and personal encounters. Bob is not a neutral stand-in for the player, but a character with his own past, frustrations and a lingering bitterness about how his life turned out. His perspective strongly shapes the overall tone of the game. The heroes he works with may appear larger than life at first, but they are ultimately just people with flaws, weaknesses and conflicting motivations. Dispatch takes its time developing these characters, giving them real depth, which is easily one of the game's greatest strengths. Despite the bleak atmosphere and Bob's personal frustration, dark humor keeps breaking through, perfectly poking fun at the absurdity of everyday superhero life in this dysfunctional world.
Sorry.
From a gameplay perspective, Dispatch revolves almost entirely around decision making. As the dispatcher, you are presented with emergency calls, situation reports and ongoing crises that need to be analyzed, often under time pressure and with incomplete information. You decide which hero or team to send out, how urgent a situation is and how much risk you are willing to take. Raw power is only part of the equation. Every character comes with their own abilities, mental strain and personal relationships. Some excel in combat but struggle under pressure. Others are dependable and calm, but physically worn down. These factors have a noticeable impact on how missions play out and ensure that decisions are rarely clear-cut. A large part of the experience consists of conversations. Between missions you talk to your heroes, make moral choices, offer support or draw firm boundaries. These dialogues directly affect motivation, loyalty and overall performance. Dispatch doesn't force you to always be empathetic or always rational, instead showing the consequences of both approaches. All of this is supported by a light management layer. Resources are limited, missions overlap, and mistakes carry lasting consequences. The game explains its mechanics clearly, but it expects you to stay focused, especially later on. The pressure ramps up, decisions become tougher, and the weight of responsibility becomes more noticeable. Dispatch lives and dies by your willingness to engage with this dynamic. Anyone who just wants to rush from one event to the next will likely bounce off. The overall structure remains fairly consistent throughout, which may feel repetitive to some players. Variety comes less from the new mechanics and more from new situations and characters. That all works well if you're invested in the story, but it might disappoint those looking for more hands-on gameplay variety. There is very little to criticize when it comes to the technical side of the Switch 2 version. When docked, the game runs at a sharp 1440p and holds a stable 60 frames per second. What stands out in particular is how close this version is to the PlayStation 5 release. The clean, stylized visuals benefit from the higher resolution without ever feeling like the hardware is being pushed too hard. Handheld mode is just as impressive. The resolution drops down to 1080p to match the screen, but performance remains locked at 60 frames per second. Players still on the original Switch get a similarly good looking experience, but limited to 30 frames per second. Dispatch deliberately keeps things quiet, and that restraint is exactly where its strength lies. The story about Bob, his past as a failed hero, and his new role as the one pulling the strings in the background is unusual, believable, and well written. The gameplay rewards responsibility over reflexes, and attention over routine. The Switch 2 version delivers a near-perfect technical conversion, and shows just how well narrative-driven games can work on Nintendo's new hardware. Minor weaknesses in gameplay variety are more than balanced out by strong characters, smart dialogue, and a consistently focused premise. Anyone willing to commit to this kind of experience will find one of the most interesting narrative games in recent years, easily standing alongside the best Telltale titles. For these reasons, I rate Dispatch for the Nintendo Switch 2 a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. If you liked it, we would be very happy about a like and a subscription. Or if you're interested in getting early access to our future reviews, feel free to visit our Patreon page.
I'm a fool for your love.